To say that we're not a drug culture is absolutely absurd. I mean, you know, whether or not if you're a religious fanatic or not, you're doing drugs. You just make a moral decision, or at least you have a strange way of morally deciding where you get those drugs. Oh, I'm a Christian, so I'm going to go get those drugs from the guy in the white lab coat. Or I'm a bum. I don't care where the hell I get the drugs as long as I get high. I mean, the physical properties and effects of a drug are exactly the same no matter where you get them from. They're all for one reason: to take your mind off your problems. America doesn't give a shit. American politicians specifically don't give a shit unless you're buying from Pfizer, Squibb, Bristol-Myers, Johnson & Johnson. Unless you're buying from these people, the government isn't getting a cut. They're already getting taxes on drugs. Not only are they getting taxes on drugs, they're getting kickbacks from pharmaceuticals, some of the ones I just mentioned. Okay, so don't worry about taxing marijuana or cocaine. Hell, the American government is taxing Prozac, methadone, Benadryl, Tylenol, if you want to really get particular. They're taxing that, and that's the front end. The back end money is where all the politicians and the lobbyists kick money to the politicians. Then we talk about the criminal system. Some people mention, oh, the criminal system, where, you know, everybody, these non-criminals are being criminalized by, non-violent criminals are being criminalized by using drugs and not hurting anybody. And believe me, I know there are certain people who went to jail who didn't need to be there. They really didn't cause any problems. But like I said, ultimately, yeah, if they got caught for doing drugs, they were hardcore or big time into it. Anybody who is, you know, around or being trailed by the police, they live a lifestyle of it. It's not just a fucking casual deal where they're doing it just, you know, indiscriminately in their homes, or what do you mean, not indiscriminately, but inconspicuously in their homes. And then the strange thing is about these druggies or potheads who are advocating legalizing drugs. They take a libertarian point of view that you know, we're going to do these things and we're not going to affect anybody about it, and that's fine. I mean, that's my point of view. I would legalize drugs based on that concept. Hello. I'm just going to finish up the video that I started since I got called away, and I just finish up with the libertarian point of view, which would be it's a good point of view, it's a valid point of view, where we should have the right to privacy. And the libertarian point of view is that you know, we can do whatever the hell we want as long as we don't affect anybody else and we don't break the law. I guess part of the problem with the libertarian point of view is that we will be breaking the law. So, well, we got to get legalized first, and then we got to make the claim that we're going to remain in the privacy of our home while we're intoxicated. And I would think that would work. The only argument I would make for that, or stipulation I would make for that, is raise the penalty for public intoxication. And that isn't really going to fly with the people who want to legalize it, because one of the arguments that people are having is that you know, non-violent criminals shouldn't be put in jail, and we don't want to pay this and we don't want to pay that. And that's I guess that's a problem. I guess that's the only glitch, where you're saying that we should be able to do it, and of course once you become intoxicated, what the hell's going to happen then? Are you really going to say, well, I'm staying in the privacy of my own home? You know, what I mean is in an intoxicated state of mind, are you going to remain responsible and say, well, I just got intoxicated, so I can't make a beer run because I'm intoxicated now, or I can't, you know, I have the munchies now, and I'm not going to go to Taco Bell. So it's a difficult argument just because you guys want to get high, and the very notion that you want to get high is cause to throw all your credibility right out the window. And And that's unfortunate. It's complete discrimination, but I think it's justified. I think it's totally justified, because if you're going to take yourself out of a functional place of reference, that you're going to have to be highly discriminated against and highly scrutinized. What do we do? Well, what do the sober people do when they're affected by you? That's why I say, if you're going to stay in your house, then it won't ever matter. You'll never be busted, and you'll never affect anyone. But once you do, what are the penalties? What should the penalties be at that point? They should be much higher, right? Because we've given you a certain amount of responsibility, and you've taken that responsibility, potentially, taken that responsibility and flushed it right down the fucking toilet, and did whatever the hell you were going to do anyway. And your excuse is going to be, well, I was drunk. I mean, every guy in the book, the oldest trick in the book is for a guy to say, well, honey, I slipped and my dick fell inside of this other girl, and I was drunk. I slipped and fell, and all of a sudden, I was screwing this girl. And I wouldn't have done it otherwise, but I was intoxicated and I couldn't help myself. It was just beyond my control. And of course, that's an exaggeration, but that's essentially the excuse that so many people give when they come up. Let's go back to some celebrities we've heard about. What's his name? Mel Gibson. And there was one other guy, I can't remember. I don't think he was drunk anyway. But anyway, the Mel Gibson thing, he was just saying, I was drunk and I said some things, and it's, obviously we know what was on his mind and what's in his heart. But the point is, it was an excuse that he used to lighten the responsibility that he had. That's it. It's the bottom line. And people want to minimize their responsibility by doing the same thing. Oh, I'm not a violent criminal, so I shouldn't really be in prison. We're wasting a lot of money on people who are in prison, and they shouldn't be there, and we're paying too much money for them to be there. That's fine. If they can be on house arrest or something like that, that sounds good. But just to say that we should do things in the privacy of our own home is too easy. I mean, it's obvious we should be able to do things in the privacy of our own home. The problem is when you lose your ability to make good choices, will you still remain in your house? And that's the libertarian argument. That aside, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be legal. There's a lot of good points for it to be legal. But it's ironic that the people who want it to be legal just illustrate so much irresponsibility. It's like the people who argue for legalization typically aren't well-thought individuals, and they're just using talking points from some hippie in Berkeley, and they're just rattling off something they've heard secondhand anyway. So, I can go on and on about this topic, but I think the main points were, were the taxes, the criminalization of nonviolent offenders, and libertarian point of view. Of course, it should be, I guess people are going to be talking about medical marijuana. Well, that goes back to my first point. You're miserable. You need marijuana. I understand. A lot of people use marijuana for a lot less important issues.